Welcome. Today is Sunday, May 18th, 2025. Today we're diving into a collection of fascinating sources spanning the high-speed world of Formula One, offering insights into the U.S. economy, exploring the mechanics of cryptocurrency, and catching up on the latest from the NBA and UFC. We'll dissect Max Verstappen's Imola victory, examine the ongoing discussion around U.S. fiscal health, demystify some crypto investment basics, and analyze potential major team shifts in the NBA alongside a significant UFC outcome. So let's get started and pull out the crucial insights.
Okay, let's kick things off with the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Max Verstappen's win was certainly a statement, wasn't it? Marking Red Bull Racing's 400th Grand Prix in style. That first lap overtake on Piastri, well, it wasn't just for show. It signaled Verstappen's intent and, Red Bull's confidence right from the start this weekend.
It really did set the tone. Lando Norris continued his strong run, finishing second, and Oscar Piastri took the final podium spot. It's interesting to see how Verstappen's win, combined with Norris's consistency, is tightening that championship battle that Piastri had been leading. We also saw Franco Colapinto make his F1 debut with Alpine, finishing 16th despite that qualifying incident.
Right.
Even though he didn't score points, he's now listed in the championship standings, which is a noteworthy detail, I think.
Yeah.
And there was also that moment when Alpine asked him to let Gasly through.
Yeah, clear strategic call from the pit wall there.
Right. Lewis Hamilton in his Ferrari and Alex Albon for Williams rounded out the top five, and we had that safety car period, too.
Yeah, triggered by Kimi Antonelli's retirement. Unfortunate for Mercedes. Zooming out to the championship picture, Piastri still holds the lead in the driver's standings, but like you said, the gap to both Norris and Verstappen has indeed shrunk after this weekend.
Definitely sets up a potentially thrilling season, doesn't it, as these top contenders trade blows.
Absolutely. And in the Constructors' Championship, McLaren is currently out front with a solid 279 points. Mercedes trails with 147, then you've got Red Bull Racing at 131, and Ferrari with 114.
What's particularly interesting is Aston Martin, right? They came in with high hopes, bringing upgrades.
Yeah, but they haven't scored as many points as they probably expected.
Makes you wonder if the upgrades haven't quite delivered, or maybe other factors are affecting their performance.
That's a key question. When a team invests like that, you expect a performance jump. Aston Martin's current standing, it kind of suggests the complexity of F1 development. It's not just bolting on new parts, It's about how they integrate and function with the whole car system.
Good point. Just a quick rewind to the Miami Grand Prix. Wow, what a weekend that was. The sprint race was pure chaos. Locura, as they say. Lando Norris first, Piastri second, Hamilton third.
And incredibly, Max Verstappen finished dead last.
Yeah, a truly unpredictable event. Plus, the Miami GP's contract got extended all the way to 2041.
Right, which has definitely sparked a range of reactions from the fans.
Yeah, mixed feelings there.
That Miami sprint race really underscored the unpredictability of motorsport. I mean, Verstappen last, that's rare. Highlights the potential for those unexpected twists. And the long-term commitment to Miami, well, it signifies F1's continued push into the American market, even if opinions on street circuits versus traditional tracks remain varied.
Very true. All right, let's shift gears from the racetrack to the economic landscape. We've got some insights from U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent on the nation's fiscal health.
Yeah, what stood out was Bessent's response to Moody's recent credit rating outlook revision. The initial report maybe suggested a downgrade, but Bessent really downplayed the significance. He called Moody's a lagged indicator, I believe was the term.
A lagged indicator. Okay, so suggesting their assessment doesn't quite capture the latest developments?
Pretty much. He seemed to believe it didn't reflect more recent, maybe positive changes in the U.S. fiscal situation.
And he emphasized the Trump administration's commitment to both reducing federal spending and fostering economic growth. Those are the main drivers for long-term fiscal stability, in his view.
It's that classic argument, right? Control spending, let the economy grow its way to a healthier fiscal position. Supply-side thinking. It naturally leads into the whole discussion around tariffs and inflation. Bessent mentioned conversations with Walmart CEO Doug McMillon about potential price hikes due to tariffs.
Right, and President Trump even suggested Walmart should eat the tariffs, referencing that period between 2018 and 2020 when they reportedly absorbed some costs.
Yeah, interesting comment there.
Well,
But Bessent highlighted what he sees as positive trends. He mentioned a decline in service inflation and the first overall decrease in inflation in 4 years.
okay, so he's pointing to some downward trends.
Yeah.
He was also clear he didn't pressure Walmart on their pricing strategies.
Right. And it's important to get the Federal Reserve's perspective here. According to Bessent, The Fed isn't saying definitively that tariffs will cause inflation. They're in more of a wait-and-see mode, acknowledging the complexities and uncertainties involved in predicting how trade policies actually impact prices.
Gotcha. Now, this is interesting regarding the trade relationship with China. Besant mentioned that even with the recent tariff truce, there's still a mechanism in place for ongoing talks.
That's a crucial point. It suggests that while there might be a temporary pause in escalating tariffs, the underlying issues are still very much on the table being discussed.
So the truce might be more tactical, a pause for negotiation rather than a full resolution.
Exactly. The willingness to keep talking suggests both sides recognize how interconnected their economies are.
And it sounds like the U.S. is prepared to act unilaterally if needed. Besant indicated the U.S. could impose tariffs on other countries not negotiating in good faith, referencing earlier statements and that April 2nd REIT announcement.
Yeah, it signals a potential willingness to use tariffs as leverage in trade negotiations, kind of a more assertive approach.
Right, signaling readiness to act independently if they feel others aren't engaging reciprocally.
Makes sense. Shifting to foreign policy, Besant also talked about sanctions on Russia. He stated pretty clearly that the U.S. won't hesitate to increase sanctions, working with European partners, if President Putin doesn't negotiate in good faith.
The emphasis on working with European allies seems significant there.
It really does. It underscores the importance of a united front when applying economic pressure internationally. Coordinating sanctions amplifies their impact.
Right. And finally, Besant addressed that controversy about the potential 747 gift from Qatar to President Trump.
Yeah, he kind of dismissed the criticism, framed it as a distraction from what he saw as a successful Middle East trip. He highlighted that Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE are still investing significantly in the U.S. economy.
Suggesting those economic ties remain strong despite the political noise, basically?
Exactly. His argument is that the ongoing investment speaks volumes about the strength of those relationships, maybe outweighing the significance of the gift thing.
Okay. Let's move into the world of cryptocurrency now. For those of you looking to understand the basics, we'll touch upon the key differences between creating a cryptocurrency and creating a token.
Sure. So the core distinction is really the underlying infrastructure. A true cryptocurrency, think Bitcoin or Litecoin, runs on its own independent blockchain.
Okay, so its own network.
Exactly, like building a whole new digital ledger from scratch, with its own rules, its own security protocols for validating transactions.
Got it. So a cryptocurrency has its own dedicated network. On the other hand, a token is built on top of an existing blockchain network.
That's right. It essentially piggybacks on the infrastructure of a platform like, say, Ethereum or the BNB chain. Tokens leverage the established security, the functionality, the user base of these already existing blockchains.
So creating a cryptocurrency sounds like a massive undertaking.
Oh, it is. Complex, resource-intensive, usually needs a big team of experienced developers, cryptographers, to design, build, and maintain the whole thing.
Whereas creating a token, while still needing some technical know-how, can be done much faster.
Yeah, much faster, using the standardized tools and protocols provided by the underlying blockchain platform. It's kind of like creating an app for iOS versus building a whole new phone operating system.
Okay, that makes sense. Another key concept is limited supply, right?
Absolutely. Many cryptocurrencies are designed with a finite number of coins that will ever exist. This scarcity is often built in to try and prevent inflation and potentially maintain or increase the long-term value.
Like a digital limited edition, how's that enforced?
It's typically baked right into the cryptocurrency's code. The rules for issuing new coins, this might be a pre-programmed schedule, releasing coins over time, or it could be based on consensus, where the network participants agree on changes.
Interesting. And finally, wallets. Essential if you own crypto.
Definitely. Wallets are basically the applications or devices you use to store, manage, and transact your digital assets.
And there are different types.
Yep. Several types, each with different levels of security and convenience. You've got online wallets, often hosted by exchanges, easy to use, but you're trusting them with your keys. Then software wallets, which you install on your computer or phone, give you more control. And for top security, hardware wallets. These store your private keys offline on a physical device, making them much less vulnerable to online hacking.
Good overview. Let's pivot now to the world of sports, starting with some intriguing NBA rumors surrounding Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Golden State Warriors. This has definitely got people talking.
Oh, absolutely. Antetokounmpo's recent social media Q&A session really lit a fire under all that speculation. His responses, especially mentioning Steph Curry multiple times, certainly caught everyone's attention.
Yeah, he listed Kobe or Curry as his favorite NBA 2K teammates, put Curry in his all-time starting five, even called Curry one of the best point guards ever alongside Magic and maybe Isaiah Thomas, and then said Curry and Dame Lillard are the best shooters ever. That's some serious praise for the Warriors guy.
It is, and it's not just, casual admiration. Given the context, with all the talk about his future with the Bucks, those words carry weight. Suggests real respect, maybe even a desire to play with Curry someday.
He even acknowledged a tweet calling his Q&A random amid the rumors and agreed it was funny. Like, he knows what people are saying.
Totally. He seems aware of it, maybe even subtly fanning the flames a little bit.
And then he throws in New York as his favorite city to play in as a visitor, just adding to the mix.
Yeah, another layer of complexity there. But the most significant thing is the reported upcoming meeting between Giannis and the Bucks front office.
Right, to discuss the team's future direction. His ambition for multiple championships is obviously key here.
For sure. And reports suggest he has concerns about Lillard's injuries and the aging core of the Bucks roster.
Exactly. Like, he's seriously evaluating if Milwaukee is still the best place for him to contend for more titles soon. That puts a lot of pressure on the Bucks management.
Huge pressure. This feels like a potentially pivotal moment for the Bucks franchise. When a player like Giannis voices these kinds of considerations, well, it can lead to big changes if his concerns aren't met.
Turning attention to the Warriors themselves, reports suggest they prefer to keep Jonathan Kuminga. Apparently, ownership and the front office value him highly, maybe even more than Coach Kerr does.
That's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? When key figures maybe see a young player's role differently, but the GM publicly stating they want Kuminga back suggests a strong commitment from the front office side.
And Steve Kerr has reportedly said he's willing to find a bigger role for Kuminga if he stays. That could be crucial for Kuminga and might mean an evolution in the Warriors' offense.
It could be. However, the possibility of Kuminga being traded isn't totally off the table. There are potential sign-and-trade scenarios floating around. For those listening, a sign-and-trade lets a team re-sign a player, then immediately trade him, helps the receiving team fit him under the cap, and the original team gets something back instead of losing him for nothing.
Right. One scenario mentioned is Kuminga to the Bulls for Vucevic, Lonzo Ball, and a protected 2029 first-round pick. Addresses the Warriors' need for a center, gives them a future pick.
And the other, much splashier possibility involves a trade with Phoenix. Warriors send Kuminga, Moody, picks, maybe others, for Kevin Durant.
Wow. The KD reunion idea. The allure is undeniable, but didn't Durant seem hesitant about returning before?
That's a key point, yeah. His willingness would be a major factor. But you imagine Curry, Durant, Clay, Draymond. That's instantly a championship contender again.
Yeah, no doubt. A formidable team on paper, but the logistics, the financials, the team chemistry, lots to consider there.
For sure. Critical factors.
Okay, shifting gears within basketball. Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut for the Indiana Fever. Wow.
Yeah, she did not disappoint, did she? Triple-double, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 4 blocks.
Historic stuff. First player in WNBA history with those numbers in a single game.
An absolutely incredible start. Generated so much buzz for her and the league. Speaks volumes about her all-around game.
On a lighter note, LeBron James apparently won the Shekinah Fool MVP award, according to fan votes.
Huh. Okay. Well, his player option and future with the Lakers are still up in the air, leading to speculation about maybe a Kobe-style farewell tour if he retires soon.
Could be. We'll see. Also, an update on the Celtics. Jaylen Brown reportedly played through the playoffs with a partially torn meniscus.
Ouch. That's incredible toughness, but yeah, raises concerns about his health moving forward.
Yeah.
Highlights the physical toll of playoff basketball.
Definitely something to watch. And circling back to the Bucks, Giannis' meeting with the front office, that's going to be a major storyline this offseason. His desire for championships is the driving force.
Absolutely. The Bucks need a compelling plan to keep him convinced Milwaukee is the place to be.
Finally, in the sports world, let's touch on UFC. Michael Morales scored a stunning first-round knockout over Gilbert Burns.
Huge win for Morales. Extends his undefeated streak to 18-0, compels him much closer to a welterweight title shot.
That was a statement against a tough, experienced guy like Burns.
Definitely. Firmly establishes him as a serious contender. He's one to watch.
Okay, let's now shift our focus from the octagon to outer space. An update on space exploration.
Yeah, this is really exciting stuff. The European startup Atmos Space Cargo successfully completed the first orbital test flight of its Phoenix 1 re-entry capsule.
A big step for Europe's independent space capabilities, right? Returning payloads from orbit.
Exactly. Launched from Cape Canaveral on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rideshare, and was really innovative as the inflatable heat shield they used during re-entry.
Inflatable. That's different. Traditional ones are bulky, often single-use.
Precisely. Atmos's design is lighter, packs more efficiently, and crucially, it has the potential to be reusable. That could really bring down costs for future return missions.
Interesting. The capsule sent back critical data before its planned splashdown in the Atlantic. Recovery wasn't planned for this first test, but they made their objectives.
Yeah, and the data they got is now being analyzed for future flights. This positions Atmos as the fastest-moving private space logistics company in Europe to pull off an orbital return mission. Also highlights that international collaboration in space, using SpaceX for the launch.
And they're already planning Phoenix 2 Next Gen with its own propulsion for 2026.
That's the plan. Phoenix 1 also showed high payload efficiency, which is impressive. About 1.2, meaning for every kilo of capsule mass, it potentially returned half a kilo of payload.
That level of efficiency is significant. Could really open up space access for research, manufacturing, biotech.
Exactly. Faster, more affordable return trips could unlock a lot of possibilities.
And it boosts Europe's strategic autonomy in space, too. Potentially less reliance on others for getting things back.
Good point. It's a clear example of the rapid innovation happening in the commercial space sector. The whole landscape is evolving so quickly.
Definitely feels that way. Finally, let's wrap up with a look at some of the latest news from film and television.
Okay, so the trailer dropped for Task, a new limited series from the creator of Mayor of Easttown. Looks pretty gripping.
Mark Ruffalo starring.
Yeah, as an FBI agent investigating robberies. Apparently gained weight for the role. Tom Pelphrey and Emilia Jones are in it too.
Seems interesting. Cannes Film Festival's happening. Always brings buzz.
Right. Pillion, with Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Melling, got a 7-minute standing ovation, though its BDSM themes are making headlines.
Okay. And Ari Aster's new film, Eddington, with Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone.
Reportedly the most divisive film there so far, which, given Astor's track record, maybe isn't a huge surprise. He liked to push boundaries.
True. For cinephiles, a restored version of Istvan Szabo's Sunshine from '99 is being shown in Cannes Classics.
Nice. Looking ahead at releases, Final Destination, Bloodlines has apparently got really good early reviews. Some are even whispering about Oscar contention in genre categories.
Wow, for Final Destination, that's something.
Yeah, pretty rare for horror. Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17 is hitting Max on May 23rd, then HBO Linear the next day.
And Jared Carmichael has a new HBO stand-up special, Don't Be Gay, debuting May 24th.
We also got a teaser for Mountainhead, an HBO film, out May 31st. Steve Carell, Billionaire Friends, Global Crisis. Looks intriguing. And the trailer for The Roses, the remake of War of the Roses, is out. Olivia Colman, Benedict Cumberbatch. August 29th's release. Tony McNamara wrote it. He did Poor Things and The Favorite.
Good pedigree there. What else is happening in film news?
Well, there are reports of concern in Hollywood about Hungary's new laws banning LGBTQ+ public events, even though Hungary offers tax incentives for productions. Margaret Qualley from Poor Things is the face of Chanel's new eyewear campaign.
Yeah.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's transformation for playing UFC fighter Mark Kerr in The Smashing Machine is already generating some early Oscar buzz. Channel 4 CEO Alex Mahone is stepping down this summer after 8 years.
End of an era there.
Lee Wannell's horror film Wolfman is apparently finding success on streaming after a poor theatrical run. Taika Waititi's Star Wars film got delayed due to his schedule, and Ethan Coen's lesbian B-movie trilogy continues with Honey Don't, starring Margaret Qualley and Aubrey Plaza.
Quite a lot going on. A diverse and dynamic time in entertainment.
Absolutely. Festivals, streaming, theatrical releases, constant flow of new stuff, plus shifts behind the scenes.
Okay, let's try and unpack what this all means for you listening in. We've covered a lot of ground today. F1, NBA, the economy, crypto, space tech, film, TV.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is how these seemingly separate areas can sometimes, intersect or reflect broader trends. Like the strategic calls in F1 might mirror risk-reward calculations in economics, or tech advances in space could spark innovation elsewhere.
So staying informed across these diverse fields gives you maybe a more holistic view of the world, helps you connect the dots, see how things might ripple across different sectors.
Exactly. So here's a final thought for you to consider. As private companies like Atmos Space Cargo keep pushing the boundaries of space exploration and making it more commercial, What long-term impacts might this have? Think about access to resources, our understanding of the universe, maybe even the future of humanity beyond Earth itself. What new possibilities might open up that we haven't even imagined yet?
Something to chew on. Farewell.